Vermont really is a pretty special place.
It's a great place to work. I mean, I think people that live in Vermont are deliberative. They live here because they want to live here.
Vermont, and in particular the Mad River Valley where we are, it's a hotbed of kind of innovation and experimentation.
The most exciting thing about working here is really that every person that's involved in this organization, they all have the same goal. And it's really a nice feeling to show up every day and really make an impact. I love working here. It's a wonderful environment. It's inspirational.
We're building a methane digester. And what that does is that takes manure and waste carbon, digests it further by bacteria into a gas that can burn in an engine and create heat and electricity. And we're going to do that on the campus. We're going to heat a couple buildings on campus. Hopefully we'll be making enough electricity to power our whole campus here. And our students will be right here watching that carbon change. It's kind of exciting. And then we're going to capture that waste stream again, and we're going to be able to study it. And because we have a farm here, because we have a school farm here, we're going to study those nutrients as they go back into the soil to make more plants. So what we're doing here is we're really building a complete food loop, a complete nutrient cycle right here on campus for study. And I'm just really excited about our opportunities here to get involved in the study of food as it impacts the world. We're going to experiment next year because of our Department of Labor grant with having you come and you take a series of 3 credit courses over 3 weeks. So you take one course, then another course, then another course, and because college is expensive, education is really expensive, and the return on your education has to be received sooner than it's happening for a lot of people. So what we're trying to do is set up a system where you've identified and you find something you like. I need to get a master cheese making certificate. And then you can have a place in the United States where you can come and in 3 weeks get your master cheese making certificate, or I need a CDL. Wouldn't a CDL go well with that? Because now I can make the cheese and now I can drive it professionally to where it goes, or geez, welding makes everybody more valuable. and they have that there. So we're setting up in series. It's kind of like the ultimate gap year where you become like a Swiss Army knife of skills that you can get very quickly and incrementally, so that everything you invest in, you've paid your check and you take your test 3 weeks later, you have your certificate 3 weeks later, it's on your resume 3 weeks later, you can see how that works for you. Oh, it didn't, maybe I should go, or you can string them all together and wind up with a degree.
Essentially, in this field, we're working to solve problems. We care about the environment, and the opportunity here is to be part of the solution and to design for the future that we want to see. And that might mean creating a rain garden in a development where prior to creating that design, water would have simply run off and picked up a variety of pollutants, gotten momentum and eroded soils. Now we're using biology to prevent those problems or to solve them. So we're harnessing the natural world to help make ourselves less of a negative impact on it. The majority of our students are the typical college age, but we always have non-traditional students. Part of the reason for that is because people want to change their careers. They may be finding themselves in something that doesn't hold a lot of meaning for them, and they make a change and they're interested in doing what they're passionate about. It makes the community much richer to have that diversity, and I love to see the students help each other out and work together, which happens inevitably.
So there are all of these layered systems that we have to be concerned with if we're going to both have the transportation infrastructure that we need, as well as have the kind of broader general environment that we want to sustain. So we know we're trying to reduce petroleum use. So we have a whole set of projects in the state on the electrification of private fleets and private cars. And so that means setting up a whole infrastructure. That means tying into a smart grid. So suddenly we now have to look at smart grid technology and electric vehicles and how they're going to interface. We look at biofuels and production of biofuels using Vermont-based resources. We talk about biofuels as replacing diesel fuel. At University of Vermont, we have a transportation air quality lab, really a nationally recognized lab that's really been specializing in thinking about what's the difference between biofuel pollution, particular particulates, and diesel emissions and particulates. And as the climate changes and ozone becomes more prevalent, how do those particles act, which becomes a health problem? So suddenly now we've tied in the healthcare field. So in many cases, we are able to have interdisciplinary teams that have to cut across and work together within these fields to truly understand not just how do we make biofuels and market them, but what's the impact of having more biofuels in the environment? You pick any one point and it's like a wheel with spokes that come out. At the center, we have a wide range portfolio of research, education, and outreach or community type projects that we engage in. Looking particularly, our theme is sustainable transportation systems and planning. One of our most recent transportation engineering students is now at the University of Alaska teaching and continuing his research, which was particularly focused on roundabouts. We have another student working at housing and community development for the state of Vermont, where they're looking particularly at smart growth and compact development and how people can essentially make choices to live closer so their transportation needs are more confined and they get what they need in those kind of localities.
The Aiken Center here, the home of the Rubenstein School, we've had over 400 students who have been involved with the renovation of this building. So we just received LEED Platinum certification for this building, and students had a very strong role in that. Students who come to study the environment at UVM are incredibly passionate, and they come with great experiences and then also build on some of that. What better place than here to study, to have the opportunity to work with faculty who are doing incredible research and incredible teachers around really important issues around climate change, around water quality, around forest management, ecosystem management, looking at tourism, looking at food systems, all of the areas that I think are so critical in solving so many of the environmental problems that we have can be studied right here.
Well, we offer a range of programs, and they go from anything as short as a 2-day weekend workshop that we have every weekend. We have a couple different workshops running, to a 4-month program. We do some different certificate programs that are 6 to 11 weeks long, that are kind of the more intensive training programs. And then we do a semester program for college students where they can earn college credit for designing and building a house, basically. I know this area has a whole group of architects who moved up here in the 60s, 70s, who came here because they could, get some relatively cheap land, they could experiment, they could build without building codes, and we became this nexus of a place where people were not only in architecture and building, but they were inventing all kinds of stuff, wind turbines and wood stoves and sleds, and it's a very unique place in terms of that kind of entrepreneurism, I think. And so that's how Yes Tomorrow ended up here and started here. And I think we've stayed here because we're now in this, embedded in this community of people who are doing really cutting edge work and developing new businesses and new products. The average age of builders in Vermont is 55, I think, and across the country. So it's an aging population, and we're sending our graduates out of our programs, with a good, solid introduction, basis in green building techniques. And they're going into some of these existing companies and really changing the culture and being able to help them kind of get up to the 21st century in how they're building buildings. There's a whole range of what people want to do out there in the world, and we're here to kind of give them the hands-on skills to be able to make it happen.
We can make a positive impact, and that's really empowering. And that's what we see our students get really fired up about, and we see people coming into our programs who are choosing that as their life path.
We have this incredible web already in place, and things are snapping together economically.
You not only will hear the theory about sustainable design techniques, but there are people practicing this all around us.
Students have the opportunity to take that passion and add learning to it, add strong academics, add experiences so that they can really impact change.